So hello everyone, stream is 1 hour later, but it is today. I had to do some stuff, and today we will be doing a Burning Dead Archer, and this is another skeleton. So thrilled to. Hello everyone, stream is 1 hour later, and I also need to turn myself off the YouTube. Okay. So yeah, another archer, or I'm thrilled to do another skeleton. So I collected some references and everything. I got this zombie and this burned zombie from The Walking Dead, I believe it was. And also I don't remember who painted this. Later I will try to find and just like put a name in the description. But I really like the quality of everything that is in here. So yeah, this is pretty much what references I will be using. And also I found this really cool reference with the sternum like disconnected, like detached from the ribs, and I really like how it looks like. So yeah, and the light is kind of cool on it. And the idea is oh, hello Ataberg. Yeah, 1 hour later helped. Also on the last stream I have done the Slayer, so now we will do a skeleton. And also I wanted to kinda evolve the way I will be doing those, because at the company I am working at, we have a really cool art director who happened to be Sasha Belyaev, and there are some mentorships options to do with him. And when I was talking with him about what I can do, what I cannot do, what I should do, how I should improve and everything, we basically agreed upon the fact that I really need to work on my fundamentals, on my basics and pretty much everything. So pretty much from now on, I will be like searching for some sort of like references, and I will try to pretty much do everything according to the references that I have. So this way there is actually a possibility that I will improve better, because simply I will like understand how the like light and everything works in just a nicer manner. So this is like the main idea of the things that I will be doing. So in here, instead of like just going crazy with all the liners and everything, most likely I will try to, well, this is not how it is supposed to go. Most likely I will just try to like construct everything, to kind of like work on my geometry, like to work on the perspective. I will try to block the shapes correctly, and basically I will just try to study the topic in a little bit more interesting manner. And also, to make it a bit more appealing, I will move the horizon line to the middle of what I have, so it will look a bit better. There will be not that big of a distortion in the perspective. So yeah, and also it will be much easier to make a perspective grid. So I will be doing a perspective grid and everything, just to make everything a bit easier on me, because I don't see any point in making my life harder without like any reason whatsoever. So I will try to keep it relatively simple. And the reference that I will be trying to match what I am doing, I was kind of thinking about like this scenario, because I really like the muted colors. Like it's like everything is like a bit gray, on the gray side, but on the other hand I really like this one because it's like red and there is a really strong greens behind it. So I'm not entirely sure which one I will try to make. And I have not collected any references per se for the archer type of a gear or whatever it is, because I kind of want to play a bit more with a design and yeah, stuff like this. So we will see how it will go, and this is pretty much like all I have to say about the topic, because I have done previously a burning archer, like one burning archer, but I did not really like how it turned out to look like. So the first thing that we will do is to actually come out with a pose. And to come out with a pose, a really cool thing is that I learned like quite recently is to make like this really small, like shitty drawing, shitty sketch where I will like capture the essence of the pose. So in this case, I can really quickly try different like things to do, and if I like any of those, then I will just continue refining it. So most likely, so hopefully it will just look better. And also because what it is doing in here, go back, and also about the last streams, I don't know, maybe because now like I kind of feel that my goal, let's say, kind of evolved, and the monsters are just keyword, I would say, and I will put more emphasis on actually learning stuff. So maybe it will last even longer, but this is a skeleton, so it's a relatively simple thing per se. There are not a lot of muscles and everything, and a lot of things can be like dealt with without like spending a lot of hours while rendering it. Of course you could, but I would rather keep it a bit shorter maybe, because I'm not thrilled about like painting a skeleton for like 10 hours. So yeah, maybe it will be a bit faster, but well, I will see. Not sure about it right now. I actually kind of like the more frontal approach to it. And yeah, with the poses, the thing is, if I can, like, if I would start just drawing, there is a huge chance that I will just waste quite a lot of time simply trying to figure out the correct pose. And if I would, like, I would spend quite a lot of time like refining things that do not need to be refined at the moment. So with doing some sketches, I'm actually going to like spend, let's say, 10 minutes on them, but it will allow me to save much more time in the entire process. And because with the bones like here, so yeah, because I will actually think on the thing that I'm going to make. And I kind of like as I said, the frontal view a bit more. It's not a view that I have done many times, so it's definitely an interesting one. Maybe with the looking like this. Also recently I have been doing some sketches of different skeletons just for the sake of like drawing, because I was kind of bored, and I had a really cool pose, but I don't remember where I saved the file, and I think I kind of lost it. But one of the things that I really liked was the skeleton. Hello, I will check. The skeleton was kind of like on the unconscious type of a side, so the head, instead of like looking somewhere, was like this, like on a side, and I kind of liked it. It added a lot of like character to it. Yeah, I mean, and also recently I go with this sketch. I like this one most. And recently I have been also watching Asmongold, I do believe, and he said something that if there is a huge change of color in a creature, so for example, the basic monster is like, let's say, red, and the second version is like slightly more red, then it's the same monster for him. But if the first monster is, let's say, blue, and the second version is red, and even thus is just like a color change, a slight color change, for him this is like entirely new monster. And I was kind of thinking about it that like, right, a lot of like players don't really care about like subtle design changes, but since I am not doing those to like be a really efficient type of a thing to happen in here, and more like a training, I kind of wanted to play a bit more with the design. So I won't be doing stuff like this, like just changing the color, because I could just like take this skeleton, for example, and just recolor it. That's right, but there is no fun in it. And since this is like a burning, that archer, I would prefer to actually make it like more like dead, like burning, so we could actually feel the fact that it is a burning skeleton archer. I mean, yeah, since especially because there is this Diablo roulette, I have already done horror captain, horror like a normal corpse axe, burning skeleton, horror archer, corpse captain, and there are 16 of them in total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not even like halfway through all the skeletons that we have in here in the game. So yeah, but I mean, on the other hand, it's also a relatively nice way to practice the anatomy. So I don't mind the skeletons, honestly, that much. Because, like, I mean, I can study different topics at the same time. So yeah. And as I said, I wanted this challenge to be a bit like to be over, for example, in June, and it's past June and I'm not even close to finishing this challenge. So yeah, it might take a bit more time to finish it properly, but I mean, I don't really care that much. And also the way I'm drawing it right now, I'm trying to kind of fit it to the perspective grid that I have. It will be mostly visible through the shoulders and the head tilt and the feet position, because if we have the knees on the same height and more or less the entire thing is this no, where is the grid? This is the grid. More or less the feet will show the perspective most in those type of a shot, because it's not like a perspective where I'm looking in the eye position, because if this will be the case, then for example the feet will be like, the difference will be much more visible if the skeleton was in the different place in the perspective. But in here I guess something like this is completely fine. So yeah, and especially since this is like a skeleton, I do think that the anatomy can be a bit stylized, not too much, I guess, because I don't want it to be like crazy, on the crazy side of a stylization, but I do believe that we could like push it a bit. So for example, arms can be a bit longer, legs can be a bit longer, especially legs, since usually legs are a bit longer. I can, for example, push this leg a bit more to the back. Boss, mini boss. What is your plan? Diablo 1 monsters first, then all the bosses from Diablo 1 in the appearance, like how they appear. So for example, the first one will be the Butcher or the Leoric, depends on the things that you roll in a game. I won't do mini bosses, I think, unless there is something like really cool. Maybe I will do like Danan, because I really like him. And yeah, and I don't like the position of the head. It should be a bit more tilted. But this is like the general idea. And hello, Lashlo. I don't want to pre-order stuff. I am in the no pre-orders league, so I won't pre-order it, and I will just wait for a full release, because no pre-orders. I did the last pre-order mistake with Cyberpunk. I mean, it was not a mistake for me, because the game is spectacular, and I had like 0 problems with it compared to the others, but I don't pre-order. Even if it's Diablo, I won't pre-order. So yeah, I don't like the head. It makes no sense. So maybe it should be like this. So there's a jawline. I'm trying to look at my cam right now and to try the face of a skeleton. How I think I could see it. There is the mouth. Or no? Hmm. Let me just combine it with this. Yeah, quite a lot. When they released Diablo 3, I actually had a collector's edition pre-ordered, but a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, like actually my best friend, said to me like, "Oh no, don't pre-order it," because he lives in England, and at the time of the pre-order, I were to visit him. I was going to be at his place, so we decided, okay, he will buy the two collector's editions, and we will just unpack them at his place. But he messed up with the bank accounts and everything, and he had not enough of money to pay for two collector editions, and they canceled our orders. And because of this, I don't have the collector's editions of Diablo 3 because he mismanaged his account. And I used to play it, and it is a cool game, but I don't think it's a cool Diablo. Just this is like my take on it. I never liked it that much. As a game, it was completely fine, but as a Diablo, it was meh. It was rather meh. I was not really stoked about it. So yeah. And this was the thing with the Diablo. Just stand with it. This arm straight and just pulling. So it will be like a bit less of a. This angle will be a bit slower. But the arm goes basically sideways and a bit to the side. Yeah, it was a bit too colorful. And also the thing is, like, it had some moments, it had some like cool moments. Honestly, with all the fights that I do remember, like of all the fights that there were happening in there, I only remember one. That was, I don't even remember who it was, like by the name, but it was the thing with like all the destroyed city, and you were fighting in some sort of rooftop or something like this. It was just the only cool fight that I recollect from this game. And yeah, and after all this like Paragon levels and everything like were there, I was like, nah, it's not really for me. Now I kinda think I shouldn't connect the perspective grid with the skeleton. I'm going to destroy it all. But as a game, like the gameplay was okay, like at least for that times. Now I don't think it holds anymore, and as far as I know, it's kind of like Path of Exile. So it's basically like grinding stuff. And this is pretty much all you have to do. And yeah, also this reference is really cool because I can see all the joints and everything and all the bones, and I really like how the chest looks like. So yeah. So yeah, so if you are like a skeleton, you have a bit more of a rounded in here, because you are pulling on the things all the time. And I really like this idea of like the ribcage being opened. I feel it looks neat. So I will kind of just try to remember it. And yeah, that's pretty much all. And I might detail the chest a bit more. I will just make some basic geometry of it. Whoops. Cancel Diablo. Project Hades. And the Hades was not cancelled as far as I know. I heard this is a really good game actually. So I'm not sure if I'm talking about the same thing. As far as I know, Hades came out and it was a huge success in terms of like action RPG, hack and slash type of things that were happening in there. So I'm not sure if we are talking about the same thing. Just could look like this. And the quiver is on the, if it holds the, wait, if now it holds the with the right arm, then it releases, then it goes back to the as part. So the quiver should be like in here, I do think. So the arrows will be like in here. So this is this, and I also feel like this type of a skeleton could, whoops, it could have some muscle on it. So the muscle part will be Dark Souls style. Yeah, at this point I'm not even, so I never heard about it, like about this Hades project, but now there will be some problems, most likely with Diablo 4, because I mean, he had this coming, I don't remember his name, but they fired the art director of Diablo 4, so I wonder what will happen to the game now, because at this point Blizzard is a bit, it has some problems, I do believe, that they need to sort out. And I need to search for a reference. Dark Souls. I do believe Diablo 4 will actually be kind of like Dark Souls. Oh, there is a nice reference that has the thing that I forgot about. This is basically the same post then. I want the head to be different. I forgot about the rotation of a torso. Completely forgot about it. And this is the thing that is going to actually make a huge difference, because it is going to give more space to the arm, to the second arm. So yeah, but I do think actually Diablo does it? It is rotated? Yeah, it is. I do believe Diablo 4 actually is like a Dark Souls style type of a Diablo game, I would say. Oh my god, even this is not correct, like the angle of the bow. And go back to a sketch. My brain just stopped working now. After the entire day of work where I really had to think a lot, I don't think I have a lot of like mental capabilities anymore. I prefer the way that the arm is completely locked. I don't like the slight bend in an elbow. I don't like this bow. I want it to be a bit different. But yeah, the torso rotation is a huge thing that I absolutely forgot about. It makes the whole pose look much more natural. Around 9, I do believe, or 10 or something like this. I don't think they should ever make a Diablo anything other than isometric hack and slash, because this is basically what makes Diablo a Diablo. I do think maybe they could make like a completely different game that is not called Diablo, and that explores this idea. But I don't think they should do it. Like they should have like a coherent art style. I'm not sure if this is the right word. I do think they should leave it as it is. I don't think it would work. It will be just like a bad reskin. So I don't think Diablo really fits to be a Souls-like game type of a thing. I want the face to be closed. Oh, maybe I want the jaw to be dislocated like in this guy. Dislocated jaws are much more interesting than normal jaws in terms of like doing a monster. Oh, and there will be a flame coming off of the face, so it's like a proper burning skeleton. So the face is like, oh, the top part is only burning. I like this one a lot. So like the bottom part won't be burning, so it will be like black to kind of like red type of a thing going on. And also the cool thing with the skeletons is you don't really need to care about the pose being extremely like graceful, because this is like the undead, and undeads are not graceful. At least the low tier undeads are not graceful. So I do believe this one shouldn't be also graceful. And I think maybe like giving him this overextend, like over straightened arm, like when you straighten an arm and it does like this bend, like, so it's not like this, it's like this, and it's go even further. I do think it's cool. So it will kind of show that the skeleton is a bit struggling with it, and the head should be a bit smaller. Okay, the first pass is done. Now let's make it a bit more clear of what is going on. So the second pass will be a bit more geometric in a sense, but a bit more thinner line will be used to draw it. And I want to make it look like this, so the ribs are detached. From the structural point of view, it does not make any sense whatsoever, because I do believe then he will just like collapse, and there is no way he will be able to like hold the string of a bow. But well, fantasy and magic intensifies. And I really like this type of a thing, like with this cold, I don't know, burnt to ash, burnt to coal type of a skin, like sitting on top of the character. I really like this, and like the leftovers of like muscles and skin, like covering the skeleton, so it's not like entirely empty shell. It's just like a. Oh, I see I lost the pelvis in the process. The pelvis will basically be directed like this. Boom. With the skin that is like, yeah, I think it looks cool. And also what it kind of allows me to make is to make the entire hand a bit more meaty. So there actually is something for him to like hold the bow with, because one of the problems that I always had was how the grip of a skeleton looked like on different things. It just does not make sense, because if you grip something, you just like use the meat on your hand, and this is like the thing that it makes it like really helpful. So like having only bones would actually make it really hard. Let me see if there's like a archer bow bows. If there's like a reference for the hand. Okay. I never know with what you actually hold the string, like if it's a finger or the entire arm, then like the whole fist. Archery experience is relatively limited. The forearm, making the forearm is actually a bit easier if you do have the skin on it, because you don't have to like work out the pronation and supination of a forearm. And it is a thing that was always like burning my brain. I have no idea why, but I could like never remember the fact that if the arm is like, if you see the inside of a hand in a character that is standing like in front of you, like standing like this, there is like a thumb, then the bones are like next to each other, and the second that the thumb goes inside, the bones do this like this pronation supination type of a thing. I have no idea how many times I have drawn this, and I always need to like stop for a second and think if this is what actually happens. I kind of like the idea of like some of the pecs still being in here, but the rest of the skeleton is like burnt inside, so it's like a hole that's like burning inside. And the spine, how the spine will behave? Like, wait, if I do this and then this, I need to see. I stand, and the spine does not really change the position that much, so it will be still like the slight S curve. Yeah, and this is also where the references start to become really handy, because I can see actually the weight of, for example, the knee joint and how like thick it is, and I can see all the details like this that would be visible in my position, because actually the pelvic placement is almost identical in my case, so it is nice. Okay. And usually the thigh bone, I don't remember the name of this bone. It has a really distinctive name to it. I don't remember it. It's like a bit longer, and in art we usually tend to make it a bit too long, so the elongated legs are a trait that supposedly is looking nice for people to look at, especially since usually when we interact with someone we tend to like be close to them, and then we see like we basically see a face in front, we see like the shoulders, let's say, and then the entire body is like really foreshortened if we talk with someone. So yeah, so we usually tend to not really be aware of the fact how long the legs actually are, but they are also not that long as some people think. So we need to take it with a grain of salt on how long should we actually make them. And also I do think if you are like a skeleton, this bone will break off really easily. Like this one. This a really thin and a really fragile bone, it looks like. So I do believe if you would like to roam some dungeons and everything while being a skeleton, this bone will basically be gone really quickly. Yeah, and the bow. With a bow, I don't want to go with anything too crazy. It does even not need to be like a bow that makes a lot of sense, since maybe it is extremely old, or maybe this was some sort of a like peasant that just made his own bow and he had no idea how to make bows, and he just died and got turned into a skeleton. So maybe he has like this ugly looking bow. I don't know, but at least this position, this rotation also opened up this area, and opening up this area actually allows me to it makes, yeah, to actually hang the quiver in here. I don't know how big quivers are. This is like the arrow, and this, yeah, it should be okay. So the quiver will be like this. As you can see, he has a quiver on his ass, and there will be like arrows poking outside of the quiver. Some arrows can be like longer, some arrows can be like shorter. I do imagine the skeleton it's not really picky with what he uses to shoot the bow at. Slight rotation on the head. And yeah. And since this is like a burning skeleton, maybe even the top of the skull is like broken, so it kind of like blurs. So it kind of looks like a torch. So it kind of looks like he has exploded skull. That also like has a fire on it. Yeah, it looks kind of dumb. I will stick to like a normal skull. Yeah, so this is that. Also, if anyone has any questions or something like this, feel free to ask. Maybe something is like interesting for you. So as I said, this is a bit more to practice drawing and everything. So yeah. And this piece is really beautiful in terms of the values and everything. I really like how it's like structured and how the values are treated in here. So I do think I might try to like emulate it. Okay, so now like 25% again. Do I make more complex? Nah, I don't. Okay, so let's just start, I guess, painting brighter side, so it will contrast nicely with what I have in the like with the darker skeleton. So I think this is like a nice thing to have in here. So let's check the colors. Basically everything in here, unfortunately you cannot see this because I'm using a color picker, but basically every single color in here, like in the background, ranges from like, let me make a new layer for it, goes from like this bronze to like a darker, a bit more saturated bronzes, and yeah, don't use the entire opacity. This will definitely allow me to grab colors correctly to see what they are, to see what type of colors do I have in here. So basically the entire ground is like branches, and this is pretty much all, with some deviation to a little bit more yellow hues. So the most saturated part, the darkest part in here, where there's grass, looks like this, and thing that appears to be the greenest one is this color. So now if I were to see them, the darker they get, the more saturation they get, which is kind of like obvious, and the greens are pretty much like following the same principle. So yeah, the trees are basically like this type of a hue. So everything is like really natural, and all the colors are like basically grayish greens and browns, and not much like else is happening in here. A really subtle palette. The other thing is in here we don't have anything that is, we don't have like a really strong light and shadow, so we clearly have a light direction, and the light direction in this one is like coming, get it to the top, it's like from here. And I know this because I can see like this plane is the like most lit, and also this plane that is like facing the light source is in the light, and basically everything that is going behind is in the shadow. So from the side, basically if we would say that this is like this head, the lights hits in here, lights hits in here, and the arm is in the shadow because the light does not hit this area. So yeah, and if we have this and this, it basically goes like this, and then there is this part on the stomach that kind of like goes a bit more to the front, and it catches a bit of the light, but it is just a bit darker. So let me make it white so it will be actually visible. So in here I would like to have like a similar light source coming from like top right a bit more, like something like this. So this will actually allow me to navigate on my lights and shadows. And yeah, so let me block a shape, allow me to block a shape. So let me take some gray, neutral gray, let me turn out the smoothing, turn off the opacity, and I will just fill the main shape of the skeleton. So instead of like doing a really thorough line art, I will just make the interesting shape, the interesting silhouette for the entire skeleton. And based on this, I will try to build my lights and my shadows and everything that I plan for this fella. I will keep it a bit more angular at first, so I can focus on the structure instead of like going all organic, and then I will like make it a bit more organic. I had a LinkedIn. I was not using it like for anything. I only discovered that I ignored some messages after like a year of messages being in there. So I lost only like one commission because of LinkedIn, because I just forgot about it. I was like not using it, and I never applied to any type of a job. Always companies were like reaching out to me, and usually it was because of my Artstation and because of my DeviantArt. But DeviantArt brought me a bit more of like private commissions when someone wanted something just for themselves, while Artstation brought me a bit more of like a, let's say, solid commission works. But yeah, then the thing was I always got those pretty much through Artstation. But yeah, and I do believe this is like currently the best place to like just upload your stuff and to search for a job, because a lot of folks are like going through the Artstation and everything, and it's actually the nicest place to be seen. But also the fact is, if you would like rush and try to force the job happening, like the job to happen, then it won't happen at all. Like the best thing that I believe is true is to just like keep doing what you like, and at some point someone will see that you are doing what you like and someone will want something from you. So I do believe this is like the way to go. But that of course depends. There are a lot of folks that are like preparing the portfolio for certain studios and just like are successful with it. I only once actually sent. I talked about this on some stream, I don't remember when, but I used to say it. I only once sent the portfolio to a studio. It was, I believe, Red Links in Finland or something like this. And they were also like the only studio that responded to me. And they were like extremely nice. They told me they are not hiring, but they gave me some pointers what I should improve in the portfolio. And yeah, this was pretty much all the story that I had. And later I got hired like 3 months ago by Share Creators, and from that time I'm going to stick with them for most likely many years to come, hopefully. Also because they like really like force me to improve my skill set, which is nice. It's always nice to like have a like place to improve your skills on like further. Okay, this may be like a solid shape. Also, since this guy will have like a lot of burned tissue on him, I don't really care about the shapes being extremely clean and organized, because there is some like things that I might kind of like fake. For example, the residue of the chest muscles and everything. So yeah. But honestly, if I were to choose if I would like to stay a freelancer or to like work as I work now, like from home but in a studio, I would never change working from a studio to become a freelancer again. the fact that I don't have like to talk with clients and to bargain about everything and to just like do everything, yeah, basically be responsible for everything is like it's 10 times more pleasant to like I can focus on work instead of like also being the like this businessman part of me can just go to sleep. I don't really need to care about it that much, which is cool. It's really liberating after so many years of doing freelance. Especially since quite a lot of clients are really weird. So yeah. It seems there is a hater of you that dislikes all your recent streams. Oh man, if I were to watch all the skeletons and everything and hear me mumbling, I would also dislike the streams. Like, I mean, as far as I know, the likes and dislikes don't really mean anything. Hello, Mikoi. They don't really mean anything. Especially since, as far as I know, I don't know if this is true, the YouTube just likes if there are likes or dislikes. It likes the engagement. It does not really care if it's liked content of not liked content. So if anyone is like disliking a video, they are actually supporting the channel. So as far as I know how it works. I'm not entirely sure this is the way it goes, but this is how I think it goes. Which is kind of fun because, yeah. Yeah, in my case, it kind of took me like 7 years, but since like I started to where I am now, but I had like a fuckload of luck associated with it, because every time when I was like in a need for a job, like actually like one day later, someone will write with a commission to me, and when I was like in the biggest need of a job, I actually got my 2 biggest commissions ever, like in terms of like the scope and how much needs to be done. So yeah, in this case, I was really, really lucky. And actually, when I finished the biggest commissions that I had, I was offered a full-time position, which is cool, which is great. And even after the stream, I still most likely will do like 2 or 3 more hours of work, because the thing that I am doing right now is really complex and I really enjoy doing it, but also I'm making it for like a really long period of time now, and it's because I'm working on it a bit slower, but also there are like a lot of changes and a lot of different feedbacks, and a lot of the things, like the biggest thing was they forgot to mention the aspect ratio, that there needs to be like vertical and horizontal version of one thing, and now I need to like rework a lot of things to include also the horizontal version, because the past version was like prepared to be vertical only, and because of this nothing was really like ready to be the vertical thing. I cannot say what it is, but a lot needs still to be done. I mean, if someone dislikes the video, if they have like a valid reason to, they are more than welcome to write what is the problem that they have with me, most likely. And also one of the things that I actually like about this people that don't like the things that you are doing, or they usually like to give critiques. And yeah, the nice critique is always really welcome. So I don't really have problems with it. Let me search for, and this is the brush. Whoops, this is not a brush. This is a smudge tool. And if you smudge tool something big, then it takes forever to process. Like one of the best comments, for example, that I ever got on the stream was not a compliment. It was like pointing out the fact that when I'm doing an interview with someone, I have a tendency to like interrupt them, which is true. Like when I rewatched some of my videos, I noticed that I'm really interrupting a lot of my guests, and it's like I can imagine this is not like nice for them. So now I am like, I wouldn't say I'm working on it because I don't, but now I am aware of the fact that I am interrupting people, which wouldn't happen if someone would not like point it out. So more power to someone who wrote this. It was written under the video when I was doing an interview with Daniel Peacock, and this was a really nice thing for someone to do, to give constructive criticism. What? And also I'm not like huge on like being this like white soldier stuff, so I mean, if it's possible, it's best to be polite to like everyone. It makes the life like tons easier. Also, let me just bring the sketch back so I can see where the horizon line is. Usually, if you are kind to everyone, it will go back to you really quickly. It's good to be nice. Yeah, if you can paste the link in here or not in a Discord, or send it to me on Facebook, I can look at it, because I turned off the Discord because of the notifications and everything. So if you do have a thing, just send it to me. Let me know when you send it and we'll check it out. Now in here also with the smart object, I am adjusting the thing so I make sure the perspective actually matches the horizon line. And if I do this, I can just basically like make the entire thing, well, make the entire thing like bigger. So I just try to match it. Perspective should be a bit, well, a bit more like this. And let's see. Still not good enough. Almost there. Yeah, now this is the ground level I want to have, and now also I will decide on the distortion, because I don't have like a really dynamic perspective in here, so I don't want the ground to be like like this. It won't make any sense. I wanted it to keep it a bit more natural. So yeah. I don't dislike it. I really find quality or disturbing. It does not matter if it fits. Oh wait, I'm really slowly processing anything today. Yeah, about. I mean, sometimes I even dislike. Sometimes I even dislike the. Oh my god, there's a monster flying on my ceiling. Uh, Sometimes I even dislike some videos. There is this thing actually flying in my house now, and a lot of people think, like in the ceiling of my room, a lot of people actually think this is like a huge mosquito, but it is not a mosquito. It is koziołek. I have no idea how it translates to English. Let me check. It's basically koziołka warzywna. So it's something like this. It actually looks like a huge mosquito. Small biology lessons. Tipula oleracea. If anyone is interested in it. And actually this is kinda also informative, because I used to kill them because I used to think they are like dangerous and that they are like huge mosquitoes that will basically suck me dry from blood, of course. And they are not. They are really good for the environment because they make the same things the bees does. And they just like spread the pollen, I believe, or something like this. And this is good actually, because yeah, they care about the environment, so they have to be good. And now also with the background in here, I can like just duplicate the thing, well, several times to like populate the ground, to make a texture out of it. And now I can like scale it, so it will basically become the ground for my skeleton, because I want him to be in the forest. So it's not like the perfect solution, because you can see the texture is like visible in terms of like duplicating the thing, but later I will just overpaint it and all will be fine. So now, whoops, now I have the entire thing nice and texturized. I can like view it to the side, and this is a getaway to making, well, to making a ground plane. And then I can like overpaint on top of it or do whatever with it. So yeah, I can just copy this, paste it, flip horizontal. Of course it's not perfect, but it's, I believe it's good enough for a painting to be in here, especially since later I will just cover it in a fog or something like it. Okay. You don't actually need to send the messenger link. I will just open the messenger. No. Can I open just this link? Will it work? Oh, it does work. Nice. Publish. Download. Okay. Some guys in here. So first of all, it looks kind of cool. I like the concept. Like, I mean, the concept is really simple in a sense, because there's like a specter in creepy gothic hallway, and this is like a relatively simple thing. Yeah, I can see the links both. Like, I can see the chat from the Twitch and YouTube at the same time. The entire concept is a relatively simple one, and like, I no wonder why you went for it, because it's just a cool topic. But there are some things that are a bit problematic for me. Like, I mean, there are a lot of things that are a bit problematic for me, but the things that are like most visible. So you have the kind of like the light source going like this, I do believe. Maybe even lower, because the shadow of this guy's head is like in here, and the bottom part is like in here, so it kind of suggests the light source is like going from the bottom. It's like almost horizontal, which does not make a lot of sense. I do think the light source should be something like this, and depends what's like the direction of the light. So if the light goes like to the back or it goes to the side, I do believe the side may be the easiest one to make, because then you will just basically like follow the perspective and everything, and then this basically would be like the shape of a light source. So for example, if it will like be in here, this is like the central part, then it will go like this and like this, and in here you will basically have like this light source. So pretty much everything in here will be pretty much every single thing. Okay, maybe not every single thing, but those things will be in the shadow, and this will be in the shadow. The space in here will be in the shadow. So you will have like this area of light, and since the light source outside is like blue, it means in this area most likely also like the light in here should be also blue. So we could like recolor it, because this is like the main light source, and this will basically, let me just eyeball it quickly. This would basically happen like 3 times, so there are like shadow also will be like in here. Of course, the further away it is, the less powerful. Well, not for the black one, the less powerful it will be. So in here, the color will be a little bit more blunt, but the idea stays the same. And then if we turn this on, and we will see where the next light will be, then it will like go like this, and then the shadow will be like this, and this one be, well, really mismatched the line. Then this will be, whoa, like here, more or less. Of course, I am now not extremely like precise with it, but this will be like the light source. This is in light, this is in shadow, and this is in light, and the rest is in the shadow. And like this will be like in a light, more or less. Of course, this is like not like the perfect construction, but to put it here a bit faster. I do get you wanted to introduce a different color to it, but there is like not a different light source, so everything basically would be more or less blue, or should be bluish, in a blue hues. So this is the first thing. The second thing, if they are the mentors from Harry Potter, just use a reference. So you could just go to the web and we can open a reference. So for example, copy, paste. It does not want to paste. Let me. Yeah, so this is like the reference. So this is like the area where you could introduce the color. So since it's like blue-ish, you could like give it a bit of the skeletal hue on his hands, like really slightly, just to slightly like recolor it. So this is the first thing. And the second thing is, I feel the poses are a bit awkward, because if we actually like draw on top of them, Then they seem to have like really weird proportions, like an extremely short like arms and really like kind of long forearms, and they seem to be like missing, like they kind of look like for me like a Dementors made out of childs, like a child proportions. So in this case it also just like feels a bit awkward. Like I don't feel the bony structure in here. So for example in here you can really clearly see that there is like a shoulder and the things that they have length, and that there is like a structure beneath the cloth. In your case, I don't really feel something like this is happening, so this is definitely a thing that you should work on in here. So like now, firstly, like draw a skeleton, and later just give it some clothes. And the second thing is actually how the material falls on it. This will actually take quite a long time to redo, but if you type how to draw folds, there are a lot of tutorials like this. This is also not a topic that I have studied a lot in terms of like actually studying how the folds work, because it's just hard and I used to like ignore it for a bit. But let me search for a quick one. Let's say something like this. Just following simple rules. So the basic idea is you have pinching of something. So basically if something will just hang from like a piece, it will be like look like this. If you will have like 2 points of like material hanging, then basically it will behave a bit like in this manner. And then you have all this like combinations of like twisting, squeezing the material. So if you squeeze the material, somehow it will like behave like this. More or less, this is the ugly example. But the basic idea is you should just study a bit more of the material folds. And this is a really cool topic actually to study. I deliberately were avoiding it for many years because it is just hard. But as far as I know, there are like 7 main folds or something like this. If you just type folds on YouTube, you will find a video that explains this topic really well. And yeah, this gives basically the entire idea. But remember that the light source needs to like follow the geometry, and it should be like unified with everything. And the poses, as I said, are a bit awkward because this one would they make a bit more of an impact if we were to have like, let's say, one Dementor in here that kind of goes like this, and the other two like really in the background, because now they also kind of, it's hard to say that this one is the main one or this one is the main one, and I have no idea what this one is doing. He's just like going to the side, because actually if we also drew this from the top, basically we have like one Dementor in here, one Dementor in here but higher, and this one is going like this. So it's really hard for me to understand the movement, like he was in the window or going in here, and where is he going. Like I feel something like maybe this would make more sense, where they actually kind of like go through the thing with this like snake-like motion type of a thing. So yeah, these are this. But the mood is cool. The mood definitely is cool, and props for you for trying to make the architecture. I would suggest also to you to avoid using photos in your paintings at this point. Try to draw everything, try to construct everything, because photos will just limit your natural capabilities of learning. You will rely too much on the photographs instead of just like learning on how to use them nicely. So yeah, this is this. And now I will be back for making the background. I don't know if I want the same background or something different. I feel this is like, this background is relatively fine. that there is in the reference, so I will just, I guess, skip it. And later I will just blur everything so it will look a bit nicer. And I might make some like darker trees closer to the shot, so there will be, I want no darker trees currently, so let's just make a really simple background. And I don't really, even though I said about like I want to study like the shit out of the thing that I'm going to paint, I want to focus mostly on the character side of a thing. The background is like the secondary topic in here, so I won't really put that much effort into it. I just want more or less for it to be similar. So yeah. And also this allows me to kind of like just grab some like really pale color and just fog it up a bit, because if you don't know how to paint something, just make the magical concept art fog, and fog to this environment really fits, so it does make quite a lot of sense for the fog to actually appear in here. And the ground can be a bit darker, and the other things maybe like this, so make some like foggy texture, just promptly like squeeze it. Perspective. Okay, I will check it soon. Just allow me to make a bit of a progress in here. So I want the ground to be a bit darker in here. And just let me to add some fog to it, because I want the environment to be a bit more foggy. Yeah, I will check it in a second. Also a cool thing that you can do in a background, if you are doing like some sort of a forest, just make some like splatter, like some dots, as I do now with the thing. So I have this like areas where the background shines through them. And after you do something like this, and you can actually like keep even the top part a bit darker side, because it kind of looks like a forest. Then I can make the top part a bit darker, because I can imagine the top being a bit darker. That does make sense. Okay, not like this, just slightly darker, so it will keep a bit more focus on the top of everything. And then what you actually can do is you can select, increase the feather to like, I don't know, 300, or no, first to like 0, select it, increase the feather to like, let's say 70, combine the selections, and now go to filter, blur, gallery blur, and go to box blur or like shift blur or whatever, so it will make the background blurred and it looks nice, in my opinion. Or at least it looks okay. It's not like the perfect rendition of what is happening in the background. I'm missing all the light parts of it, but it looks fine. Later I will add the lighter parts on it. And let me go back to Facebook and let me check. Wait, on Facebook. Whoops. Opening Messenger. In? No, I don't see you. Did you send it like where? On Facebook. I don't see it on Facebook, honestly. It's not in my other folders, and it's not in the... Maybe I am just stupid. No, I don't have any message from you, I think, on Facebook. So I will just continue. So if you just find it, just send it a bit later. Yeah, if there is anything that I have learned anywhere, it is the fact that one light source is usually more than enough for you to like make a painting. So okay, now I will just it's time to like render this. Oh my god. Yeah, but on my fun page, okay. I'm not really using my my fun page anymore. How do I view my fun page? How do I switch accounts? Pages. It's in here. Oh yeah, there is something in here. I cannot view it because there is on a fan page you can only send a file that is extremely low quality, so it won't like basically view it like it nicely. So if you can just send it to like my private account or something like this, or just send a link on a Twitch, just upload it somewhere, because other than that it's actually impossible for me to see it, because I have no idea why Facebook is like preventing on fan pages to send big files on fan pages. Okay, so now I'm going to sculpt the light and the shadow on it. This light will be in the shadow, this part will be in light, this part will be in the shadow. So yeah, this part is in light, this part is in light, this part is partially in light. So now basically what I am trying to do is to kind of think about the entire thing as a low poly model, and because I am thinking of it as a low poly model, it allows me to sculpt the light easier, because I can see what surface is in the light, what surface is not in the light, and what surface is in the cast shadow. And I should most likely divide. Yeah, no problems. It's not the most obvious type of a thing. And this actually should make the entire thing much easier. So for example, now I know the inside of a body will be darker, and that the sternum is basically lit a bit, but not that much. And most likely I should like keep it, I should make the entire drawing much more complex, but it is a bit, it will take like way too long. So the idea is, if the skeleton is like this and like this, and now this arm is going a bit forward, so it will get a bit of light. It will be like in a light. The hand, well, oh yeah, I have been painting over the lines, nice. The hand will be in light, the thigh bone will be in light. There will be a really delicate shadow casted, because this is like the overcast scenario. This arm, definitely the side will be in a shadow. Thinking here will be, the top of the bones will be in light, and the inside will be like really, really dark. And the spine will also be on the darker side. This part will be in a shadow. This part will be in a shadow. This part in here actually will catch some light. There will be like a cast shadow from the spine, I do believe. A bit. This part is in the shadow, this part is in the shadow. And the entire pelvis will cast a bit of a shadow in there. And also the problem with skeletons is that it's really hard, at least for me. Most likely it's because I lack practice to like render them really nicely, because they are really thin, and it's really not the most fun thing in the entire world to render thin elements. This bone will be in the shadow. I can imagine even if this is like the angle of light, and this bone is like this is like this, then it's really slightly lit. Yeah, so it should be on the darker side. Something like, yeah, most likely yes, but it requires me to like also engage a different artist for the thing, and a lot of artists, as far as I know now, are extremely busy. I have no idea why. I might ask Naimul if he's willing to do a stream with me next time. Most likely he will say yes, but as far as I know, he also have like a fuckload of work to do. So yeah, no, definitely it will. Yeah, it will happen. I plan to like interview also some guests, but again, currently a lot of them are just busy, so there's not much I can do about it. And I forgot about the second hinge of a jaw. So yeah, this is like basically what I'm doing right now, is kind of like making a blueprint for the entire painting. And even like this thing has a relatively similar light source, but it's a bit more from the top. I want to go a bit more with like this overcast type of a thing, with like a bit of a directional light added to it. So yeah, I would say this is a bit simpler. And also, since this is like an archer, should I give him some equipment? No, I don't think I should. And the quiver. The quiver is like in here, so the inside of a quiver is in the dark. The bottom part of a quiver is in the shadow. And this part is a bit darker. And there is some like stuff going on like this. But yeah, definitely I will try to invite someone. I have sent you link to my drive to the same chat. You cannot send links on YouTube. This is like a YouTube thing. It just do not allow this. So I think you need to go to Twitch, or yeah, the Twitch will be your best bet to actually go send the link, because YouTube just is not a fan of sending links on streams. And I don't even think I can like allow any links to go through because of the like YouTube policies and everything. Or maybe I just cannot set it up properly. But on a Twitch you can definitely send some links. So yeah, now I do believe this is like a relatively okay-ish base for me to start with this guy. I kind of feel like it should be a bit bigger. Well, with this thing, but it should be a bit bigger, not that much, but I do feel it does not feel the composition nicely. And the other thing is the shadow that it will cast. And this is the thing that I was not really prepared for. I forgot about it. But since we do have like the light source kind of going like this, maybe now when I look at it, it's more like this, a bit more from the top. It basically means that if we do have an object, this is like a ground plane, and direction is a bit to like the back of a shadow, and the light source is going like this, then like this, then the shadow of the entire creature will like go to here. So if I just go a lazy way, let me just connect those two. Well, and I will just go with something like this. This is a really ghetto way of making shadows, but since I work with the overcast shadows now, the ghetto way will work just fine, because I will blur the entire shadow nonetheless, like this and like this, and the shadow will be like, let's say, black. And let me just adjust it really slightly. So for example, the leg, basically, I can also like make the construction for the entire character, but the result is relatively easy to be eyeballed. So this is like the direction of the light, this is the thing, so the knee is in here, this ass is like in here, a bit to the back, the quiver, direction, angle, as you can see, it's relatively okay-ish. Not the most perfect shadow that you can cast, but it makes the job done relatively nicely. And since this is like the, as I said, the overcast, and here again, angle, direction, and everything, the shadow will be most likely filter, blur. I usually prefer the box blur over the Gaussian blur, because it just makes the entire thing look a bit more natural. I do expect the shadow to be something like this, and I will mask it a bit so it's not that dark, because the shadow will get a bit brighter the further away it is. The darkest shadow basically will happen near the feet. Yeah, I do see. Yeah, basically, let me just open the painting. I will also, yeah, I do see it. Download. Yeah, the basic idea is if you have like a strong light source, then you will have like a really crisp and a really sharp shadow. So for example, in here you can see it, that the light is like really an overcast, because in here there's a highlight, you can say from where the light is coming from, and because it is like scattered through all the leaves and the cloudy clouds and everything, the lights hit really softly. So all the shapes in here are soft, and there are like really no hard cast shadows. For example, the shadow from the head on a body, as you can see, like let's just quickly analyze it. When you have like a facial structure going like this, and in here you basically have like a plane. The shadow basically is going from the top in here, it hits in here, and this entire part is like in a cast shadow, but because this is like a really soft light source, the entire shadow is really like soft also. So this is like the really basic idea. And for this guy, it looks really nice. Definitely looks better than the previous one. The anatomy is a bit awkward. I feel like I can see what you are doing with it, but for example, like this leg look really stiff. By any means, I'm not a master of anatomy on legs, but in here I would mostly like work on some anatomy, because in your case you basically have like two shapes like this, and it just looks a bit awkward. So a better approach is to figure out the gesture that the character is making. So for example, in here I can imagine the leg he is going for something like this, to like, I don't know how to draw a feet, but he would go for more like, or maybe something like this, and it has a bit more motion to it. Maybe even rotate the thing. Yeah, this is basically true. This is how the photographers do it. So I would think you should need to work a bit more with the gesture, because now it kind of looks like blob, 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 blob. He's like all puffed up, really stiff in terms of like the pose. And if you have like pose like this, then you can actually start adding like anatomy to it. So for example, here will be like the teardrop, here will be like this muscle, here will be like the middle part of a quad, the side of a quad. I don't know how to draw it. Here will be the knee, and the calf muscles and everything. But as I said, I'm not a specialist on leg anatomy. I know it is there, but by any means I'm not good with it. But the basic idea is, if you have like a nice gesture, then the drawing just have like a lot of more life in it. Even if something as like lazy as this sketch, you can see the shape, the general shape is just much more interesting. And just remember about things like, you know, like something like this would happen. For example, the abs will like also have some dimension to it. It's not like a flat thing from a side. It would protrude a bit more. And again, I can see you made uneven horns, but also the same thing applies to the abdominal muscles. For example, abdominal muscles. If you're a demon, you are not really perfect, pretty and everything. And even though you can be like really ripped, for example, as this guy is, and the abdominal wall is not really even. So as you can see, the tiles of the wall are like really weird looking. Even this ab is going like in here to the side. And this is like a really natural thing. Like abdominal muscles are extremely rarely extremely symmetrical. It requires a really good genes to actually have symmetrical abs. So yeah, this is one of the things. The rest is cool. The rest I feel is fine. The face is really nicely done. But yeah, also the fact that you have like 3 light sources don't make it like much easier. I do believe you should like lit it up with like a 1 light source, So for example, render it only with the top light source, then add the second light source, and only add the layer with the second light source, and then add the third one. And the thing is, because if you have like this light source in here, it will like go like this. And for example, it will definitely like hit the bottom part of a jaw a bit more, and this part of a jaw, and actually the entire side of a face will be a bit more like affected by this light source. Maybe to not this extent, but just to give you a general idea. I can imagine actually the entire arm, like the top part of the arm will be in the light, the bottom part of the bicep. This part will be also in light, but a bit less. Bottom part of the deltoid, maybe a side of a chest even a bit more, but I do think this part will be like in a shadow. Again, it kind of depends on the positioning and everything, but keeping it like a low poly model really helps imagining the planes and everything of how the light will affect everything. And then you also have like the second thing. So yeah, I would mostly try to think with the planes for it. And the easiest thing for you actually to do will be to just turn off the lights in your house and grab something that will emit a light and just take a photo of yourself. So for example, a candle. If you will take a photo, it will be just dimmer version of this light, so you can see how the light actually works on this character. Because for example, this light, like if we say the thigh has like 3 planes, so it has like a side plane, frontal plane, and this plane. I don't think this plane will really get this much light. It will get some of the light, but I do think this part will get most light, and then it will kind of go like to the side, and this part won't get as much light, but then again it will be like lit slightly by the light from this side. So the core shadow will be like in here. Having 3 light sources definitely not a easy thing to have, like to maintain. So yeah, it does not even look like a meat. It definitely looks better when you have only like 1 light source. But yeah, the rest is nice. It's a bit too human for my liking, and I don't know what is going on here. Instead of like making something like this, usually like for this demon I feel it fits to give him some like again some hair and stuff like this, since this is like the upgrade. Yeah, this is the imp. I don't remember if they were wearing something, but in this case I feel it just looks nicer because the crotch area is like facing us to the front. So if it were like a 3/4 of a view, then I guess no problems with making a naked crotch, but if it's like facing us, I do think giving it a cloth actually works a bit better for it. But yeah, other than that, it looked really good. Also, you could try to just pose the entire thing you could pose the entire thing in 3D and just try to give this the artificial, just to light it in a 3D. Jesus Christ, thinking is really hard today. So just use 3D to your advantage to like prepare a reference for you. This is also the thing that I would do if I have no idea how the light works. I would do just this. I will just prepare the reference for me, or I will just take some photos with me. So yeah, but it looks nice. Definitely a huge improvement if we compare it to the first one that you have made, the imp. It looks way better. Please don't tell me I was drawing on the references. Oof, I did not. Yeah, the just like it's really hard sometimes to find the good balance between the the cool drawing and the gesture. So for example, this guy is really stiff. So wait, let me just duplicate him so I will make a point. If I duplicate him and I will work on a duplicate, I will liquefy him and I will try to increase the motions, like the feeling of motion on him. Don't show backdrop, so I will make it a bit too much, so overdo it for the sake of making it a bit more clear of what I mean. So for example, too much. For example, something like this looks much more organic, but at this point it feels like too much, I would say. So it stopped looking like bones. It looks like the graphic design of it is interesting, but it's not like a skeleton that I like to make. If this were some sort of a like demon that is really fast at running, then fine, completely fine. But in terms of skeleton, I just prefer a bit more like stiff way of portraying it. Maybe I would just take a warp and just add a bit of like a flow to it, but just a bit. It would be like a really subtle thing to happen. But yeah, again, this is not like the biggest change, but as you can see, even like a slight warp kind of helps the entire thing. And one of the things that I liked in the sketch, in like this warp thing, was to make this part a bit more like going to the back, and to make this bone a bit like more rounded. So instead of like this and this, there is like this and a bit more of this. And I feel it just looks nicer. I might be completely wrong though, but I just feel it's a bit better. And also what is cool, gesture is really usually amplified by the anatomy. So for example, in here on the bottom part of the arm, you have like this muscle of the forearm that contributes to like this, for this like stronger gesture. Yeah, dogs are hard to draw. I would be afraid to draw a dog, and hopefully, and like luckily, there is not a single dog creature in. No, there is a scavenger in Diablo 1, but I already done them when I was not really caring about the quality. So yeah, the worst thing is behind me, I do believe. But okay, if I do have like the basic light, I will just duplicate it, name it remember, make it red. So I will, if I forget about the light sources and everything, then I will just open it and try to remind myself, because if I am rendering something, there is a huge possibility that I will actually completely forget about the light sources, because it happened to me before, and most likely it will also happen in here. So I will just reference this guy because I really like it. It's now time to color it. So I want to go with really the saturated blues. And I will turn on the brush settings and make color dynamics. So hue jitter is in here. So the hue jitter is cool because when I'm painting something, you can see there are like jittery colors happening. So not everything is unified, and it gives a bit more of a random like feel to it. But since this is like a burning skeleton and it's like pretty much red, I kinda also want to give it this fleshy color that the zombie on the left has. So I'm basically like trying to recolor it. And now I can see how different layers work. And usually for adding colors and everything, multiply is absolutely best one. And usually also multiply requires brighter colors to be, well, to be added to it, or you can make a mix of multiply and a soft light. So if I increase the multiply too much, I can add a soft light, and I can make the soft light layer much lighter, so it will kind of contribute to the thing. And I need to reduce the dark areas. That's too much. So it basically takes care of the brighter parts of it. I don't really dig it that much, so I will just make it ignore the darker parts. So what I'm doing right now is just experimenting with the process to color this guy, because it's really thin. And yeah, because it's thin, it's hard to draw, hard to do. And on top of this, if I am like relatively happy with the colors and everything, I can go back to this guy. I can put him on, like, I don't know, screen, no, soft light maybe, and make him much brighter. So now what I can actually do is I can make it ignore the light, no, the darkest parts, no, because I like how it brought back some colors on the bones on the legs. This is nice. So I guess I will just erase, or not erase, I will mask the places that I don't really like in here. And I will leave like the lightest part in here. And also I make it, I will make this. So as you can see now, it like relatively quickly I managed to like add some colors to it without like losing too much of a readability to it. The long story short is actually the multiply layer is, as far as I know, the best to add colors to and textures to anything. Konstantinos told me this, and I do believe him in this case. So yeah. And why do I still have this guy? I don't know. But I will just paint the details on a quiver. And also right now I can like add like a belt of the quiver. So the top part of a belt will be in a light. We'll go like in here. And some reflected light of it, so a bit of a reflected light from the ground will hit the bottom part of a quiver. And I want the quiver to be like black. So now I'm kind of redoing the shadows and everything when this is like the quiver. And later I will like add some stuff to it so it will look creepy. Like some stuff hanging from it. But this is for later. And now I can start painting. Also, if I do think that it should be a bit more saturated. So for example, I want this like this warmer tones to appear on him, so he actually appears reddish to be. So I can just splat them on him and make like a saturation, no hue, no, maybe like even overlay. Overlay looks kind of cool. It kind of brings some colors to it. I should make it a bit lighter, not that much. And I can control U this and increase the saturation, so, but just slightly. I need to remember that the general tone, like the overall tone of what I do have in here is relatively muted, so I don't want this to be too bright. And also with this guy, if I just, well, if I just analyze the brightest value that I can find on this guy is around 50%, so pretty much nothing should go above 50 or 60% on the skeleton. And now I can start rendering it, and later I will also lit his head on fire. So yeah, I don't know for how much longer I will stream, but I wanted to start rendering this fella today, so yeah, I'll do it for a bit. I really like those eyes, that they're like, that there are there, but are clearly burned off. And as I said, I really like the fact that it looks like the skin is still on his face, but that it's not really like there. And also one of the things that I have learned from Sasha is the fact that you can just take a color from the background and just paint a bit with it, and it will work completely fine. It's like more than fine to be done this way. And also, since now I am like, I try to keep the oh my god, I'm missing the word, the geometry easier, much faster, and more efficient, and basically better overall, because I can, like, I know where I'm coming from, and because I do know where I'm coming from, it allows me to really quickly add stuff and to modify it. And if you are like a burning skeleton, I can imagine you also have teeth, or at least some sort of a teeth stuff happening. And for this guy, I was planning to like lit his mouth inside with the fire and everything, but before I do this, I want to actually like lit him first, because the light source in his face will actually be a secondary light source that will kind of add light to what is already happening in here. So there's no way for the light inside his face to like remove the existing lighting. It will just add to it. So these two light sources will just simply combine and will affect somehow each other, but there's no way that one light source will just like nullify the second light source. Stuff like this don't happen. Like, you cannot turn off one light by shining a different light onto it, or at least I think you cannot. Definitely you cannot make something brighter by, like, if you are shining a lamp onto something and then you will turn on a second lamp that is much dimmer, that is much weaker, there's no way to like add to make this thing brighter because you are like shining on it. To make something brighter, I do think you need to like cast a lighter shadow on it. But it might be like, I might be completely wrong with it. I'm not sure, honestly. For example, in here, there will be like a shadow from the head, but it will be like really soft because the light source is soft. Oh, is pointing to the light source, so it will be brighter. Yeah, actually, if you just take something and just break it down to like its simplest forms, like basically go with all the basics and everything, vast majority of paintings then become relatively easy and relatively simple, I would say, because you are not overthinking something and you are just going from point A to point B to point C to point D, and you are just following like logical steps. And following logical steps in art is important because like this is, at this point, this is a bit more of a technical knowledge, I would say, instead of like artistic type of a thing, and it just makes the thing much easier. So for example, also I'm a huge fan of maybe not the style, but the workflow that Forest Email has, because he really knows his shit in terms of geometry and everything, which is really cool because he knows how to construct a lot of things, and his paintings are really like nicely structured. And here I think even was painting a skeleton recently, and I do think he also was streaming it. I will actually ask him if he wants to make a stream together, because I do like his ideas of on how he works. So I definitely recommend Forest Email, I believe. I think it's something like this. I will leave it. I recommend to just watch his streams. Watch him. Yeah, I will write to him maybe later today to ask him if he maybe wants to make an art talk or to just casually stream together. And also the thing is with drawing different monsters and creatures, as even Roman said that he made 3 light sources, usually the coolest effects you will get by using only 1 light source. There is the saying, the simpler the better. Sometimes you of course need to use several light sources, but at first just try to limit yourself to the bare minimum and try to understand it nicely. I am guilty of not doing this. I am guilty of trying to like go with the cool factor really quickly, really early on, and it made the studying for me much harder. And now doing stuff like this, like simplifying everything, like going back to the basics, it makes it like light years easier, because I can understand what I am doing and why I am doing this. And now, even though everything is a bit more like let's say not organic, when I zoom out it looks a bit more organic, because like the structure I believe is a bit more correct. I still do see a lot of errors or mistakes with it, but nothing that is extremely, that is really off. There will be like a lot of fine-tuning to it. For example, just taking the light source and just making a bit of a brighter spot on the head, so it will show where the light source comes from. It's a bit more to the right side. And also this approach kind of forces me to understand the geometry a bit better, so it's like a win-win for me. And also you can see in here a bit of like a hair. I might actually, no, I won't give hair to this guy because he will be burning on his head, so all the hair will like burn off. And basically every single plane that is facing the light source will have this additional layer of thing. And this actually is really pleasant now to paint. But I do think I will wrap the stream up and I will go back to work after taking like a break for it, because the stream is already over 2 hours. So yeah, this is what we managed to do in 2 hours. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. after finishing this guy, I will also try to get some more feedback on him. Yeah, but I like where this is going and how this is going. So yeah, burning skeleton in a forest. This is a thing that I feel looks okay. And also for the fire, I don't think I will go. Let me turn this off. Well, no, I don't think I will go above something like this, because as you can see, the light do not really lead the environment that much in a daylight. So because the firelight is like not really strong, so I might even try to add it right now. Textures, just to see how it looks like. Fire, flame, not fire. Because there are these really cool textures that are on the textures.com. And this is a really cool texture. And it is a warm in color. So it will be like a screen, I do believe. And I will kind of need to like adjust it, but so it won't look stupid and that the face will be actually visible. But the basic idea for this guy is like something like this. It looks extremely fucking stupid at the moment. It looks absolutely not proper. I do feel the temperature of the light needs to be a bit lower. Well, like desaturated. Maybe I will keep it warmer. Yeah, but maybe this flame is just a bit too big. Maybe I'll just warp it. So yeah, I could add a lot of cool stuff with it if I would play with this concept a bit more. But the basic idea is something like, let me just grab a different photo of a fire that is a bit more, and this one looks flamey. It's a bit more like this. Scream, screen, not scream. Desaturated really slightly. I want this fella to more or less this one could be more or less like this. It looks nice. No, I won't spoil myself after I finish this one. I want to purely focus on this one, because if I by any chance randomize the Steel Lord or something like this, then I will rush the fuck out of this one and I will not make it as good as possible, and it will only hinder my process and the progress I want to make on this guy. So I'm not checking what I will redesign next. But if you want, you can choose a number and a letter, because the next one will be D7 and then F2. So if you want, you can like make your pick, and I will just select what you want to, what number you want to be next. So yeah, if anyone is still in there, just feel free to choose your number, and I will do them in this order. This way, this is more randomized, I would say, because I just placed the card by myself, but I like reshuffled them, but maybe subconsciously I still do know what is where. G5 will be number 3. I will actually start like start to write who. Ataberg. I don't remember who have chosen this two. Maybe I will just check it and write it later. C. C7. Okay, Roman. Oh, okay, this was yours. Yeah, if you want, you can choose the next one. Or maybe no. 3 are enough. I don't remember the second one though. But yeah, it does not really care. It does not really matter that much. I'm kind of tempted to see what is next, but yeah, I won't. So yeah, this is basically all that I have for today. And we managed to do this. And this is a skeleton burning archer. So yeah, I will continue Monday, Tuesday, maybe on Wednesday. I will see if I will manage to stream on Wednesday. It will be cool. I like doing those. So yeah, thanks for watching and have a good day or night or whatever. And see you next time.